Korean prices are too expensive. Korean things that foreigners say are especially expensive. Anyone who has traveled to another country will agree. You will be surprised to see prices in the markets of that country. In Europe, food products such as milk, vegetables, and meat sold in supermarkets are. It is much cheaper than Korea, but medical and transportation costs are higher than in Korea. Southeast Asia is generally cheaper than Korea, so it is a popular tourist destination. Every time we travel abroad, we check the price of that country. Comparison with Korean prices. Foreigners too. It will be the same when you travel to Korea. From this point of view, especially expensive items in Korea are. Let's see what it is. Seoul is the most expensive city in the world. The Economist Intelligence, an economic analysis agency under the British weekly The Economist. According to the unit's announcement earlier this year, the price of bread in Seoul ranks first in the world. The average price of 1 kilogram of bread was $15.59. New York, in second place. The price of bread is $8.33, which is about twice the price of Korean bread. Koreans are also startled by the rising price of bread. It will feel more expensive to foreigners, right? The price of milk in Korea is 3 times that of German milk. Nick, who appeared as Germany's representative in the entertainment program Abnormal Summit, said on the broadcast, Germany. In Korea, I ate cereal every morning, but in Korea, milk and dairy products, it was so expensive that I couldn't eat it. There are many reasons for saying that. The current price of 1 liter of milk in Korea it is about 2,616 won. The price of milk in Germany is about 891 in Korean won. The price of milk in Germany is very cheap, about 3 times the difference. The price of 1 liter of milk in Switzerland, which is famous for being expensive, is around 2,001. In the beginning, it can be said that Korea is definitely expensive. Fruit more expensive than the most expensive city. When Koreans go to overseas markets, they are often surprised. This is because fruits are very cheap. Conversely, in Korea, foreigners who come are surprised that Korean fruits are so expensive. Let's take an example of a fruit, the apple. Korea, a kilogram of apples costs about $6.36 in US dollars. However, Singapore, which tied for first place in the most expensive city this time, was $3.28. Paris, France is about $3.29, which is about twice the price of Korea. Do you know how expensive Korean fruit is? Rice more expensive than Hong Kong's notorious Hong Kong rice. In Korea, not only fruits but also rice are expensive. As a broadcaster in Korea, Lucky, an active Indian, said on the broadcast, Korea produces agricultural products such as potatoes and rice. It's really expensive. Looking at the price of rice in India, it's enough. This is an understandable statement. The price of 1 kilogram of rice in Korea is about 4,723 won. It ranks high compared to other countries. The price of rice in India is 1,000 won. I can't. A city with a geographical location similar to that of Korea and an expensive city. Hong Kong, one of the joint first places, also costs 2,495 won, which is only half of Korea's. Coffee is expensive, but you drink that much. Koreans drink a lot of coffee. Foreigners in Korea, they say they are surprised by the amount of coffee consumed. All over the streets, you can meet a lot of cafes. However, Korea has a coffee pride. Nara, Italy, coffee is more expensive than the US where Starbucks is located. Did you know? If we compare the price of cappuccino, it costs about 4.956 won compared to 1,600 won in Italy. Even when comparing Starbucks prices, the price of a cafe latte is $3.45 in the US compared to $3.76. It was cheaper in the US. Foreigners in Korea as usual. They say that when they go into a cafe to drink coffee, they are surprised by the price of the coffee. Korean beer prices are above the world average. As the weather's hot these days, many people are looking for beer. As there are many famous beers abroad, foreigners love beer. You could even say it's bigger than us, but from a foreigner's point of view, beer in Korea is expensive. 2017. As a standard, the average price of 500 milliliters of beer in Korea is about 4,500 won. It was more expensive than the average of 4,000 won in other countries. Imported beer is especially expensive. Imported beer, Heineken, as of 2016. The price in Korea is 2016 won, which is 2.9 times the local price of 729 won in the Netherlands. The selling price of American brand Miller beer in Korea is 2,203 won. It has been studied that the price in the US is 2.3 times higher than 961. As you can see above, food prices in Korea are expensive compared to other countries. On the other hand, foreigners say that the price of eating out in Korea is relatively cheap. It's strange that a restaurant gives out side dishes and water for free, and there is no tip. The culture is also good. This is Korean Common News. My friend who lived in the US wants to go to Korea, but the apartment is too expensive. He said he couldn't even buy an apartment in Gangnam with the money he had saved for 20 years in New York. In the United States, when you go to a supermarket, the rich and ordinary people can buy the same product at a cheaper price. I could buy it. In particular, meat, bread, and cheese, which are staple foods, were cheaper than expected. It is too expensive compared to the price of income in Korea. So reduce the distribution process in the middle. Lower your taxes. House rent, dining out, transportation, and cigarettes. New York is much cheaper. Does this make sense? Still, please go abroad. I think Korea is comfortable in many ways. Transportation transfers. Subways are placed in front of the house in any area. Small and medium marts in each neighborhood. Convenience stores, large marts, and restaurants are overflowing. Hospitals are overflowing in every neighborhood. Buses come often and it's so convenient that people don't know if they're comfortable in Korea and they only curse. There's no other country without such a risk of terrorism even when the two Koreas face each other. Don't raise the standard of happiness too high. Korea is a good country to live in.